So the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Green Bay Packers 22-10 in the first round of the playoffs. But I think the Eagles do have some major concerns if they really do want to go on a deep playoff run and have a shot at winning the Super Bowl. And I think when we look at that game against the Packers, there is no doubt the reason the Eagles won that game is because their defense dominated. They shut down Jordan Love. He had one of the worst games of his entire career, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a 41.5 passer rating. And from the start, the Eagles offense was put in a really good spot, recovering the fumble on the initial kick. And so in this game, the Eagles forced 4 turnovers. The Eagles offense had 0. And so they really had everything they needed to win this game, and they did win it 22-10. But I think when you look at the rest of the teams that are going to be in the divisional round of the playoffs, not only on the side of the NFC, but also the other side, teams like the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, or if the Eagles were to, make a run for a Super Bowl, they would be facing, one of those top tier offenses where I'm not sure you can count on this Eagles defense every single game putting up the kind of performance we saw against the Green Bay Packers. And so that's why the offensive performance from the Philadelphia Eagles does really concern me for their ability to really make a deep playoff run. And so, when you look at this Eagles team, I think there's no doubt they are Super Bowl or bust. When you're a team that in recent years has gotten to a Super Bowl, that's sort of where the expectations are set. And so when you have the Eagles passing attack playing as poorly as they did, unless there's some major changes here, I just don't see them competing with teams like the Chiefs, like the Bills, like the Ravens, even teams like the Lions who are going to put up a lot of points because of how solid their offense is. You can't always rely on your defense to absolutely shut down the opponent like the Eagles defense did this past week against the Green Bay Packers. And when we look at the Eagles passing attack against the Packers, Jalen Hurts goes 13 for 21, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a 111.4 passer rating. So I guess you could say he was pretty efficient. One of those touchdowns was the Dallas Goedert just, getting the pass. It was either 3rd, 4th down, and then running over Carrington Valentine. And so Jalen Hurts didn't necessarily make any, terrible decisions like Jordan Love, who put the ball up 3 times in bad spots. There could have been a 4th interception for Love in that game as well. And so I guess for the positives is, Jalen Hurts didn't really put the ball in harm's way, but to only throw for 131 yards, it was an ugly day for the passing attack of the Eagles. And A.J. Brown was shut down, 1 reception for 10 yards. The Eagles' leading receiver is Devontae Smith, 4 receptions for 55 yards. And I think when you look at this game, it didn't feel like there were, a ton of answers for Jalen Hurts. I mean, lots of the routes being run out there. I mean, the Packers sort of were easily covering them up. And I really thought that the Packers, without their top tier cornerback, Jair Alexander, I didn't think the Packers defense was going to be able to keep this Eagles passing attack in check like they did, just because I do believe the Eagles have one of the better pass catching duos in the NFL. And so you had 7th rounder Carrington Valentine out there who's played really good football. He was shutting down A.J. Brown a lot of the day, and they're giving him some help from the safeties as well. And on the one hand, yes, I think that Kellen Moore needs to call better plays, be more creative. But on the other hand, these are, top tier receivers in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So at some point, you need your guy to win. And it didn't feel like they were winning very often. Part of it, I think, could go on Kellen Moore, but also a lot of credit to what the Packers defensively were able to do. And I would say that Jeff Hafley, Packers defensive coordinator, outcoached Kellen Moore in this game. And another problem for the Eagles in their passing attack, the pass blocking was not very good. According to PFF, Hurts was pressured on 41.7% of dropbacks. And for Hurts this season, he just has not been the same quarterback when under pressure. Of course, any quarterback who has a clean pocket is going to play better. But even if you look at his season-long ranks when it comes to kept clean versus under pressure, he has the 3rd highest passer rating in the NFL when kept clean versus 18th when being pressured. And that was no different in this game. When pressured this game, he goes 2 for 8, 19 yards, 39.6 passer rating. When kept clean, 11 for 13, 2 touchdowns, a 142.1 passer rating. And it felt like there were a lot of snaps in this game where the interior of the offensive line broke down. The Packers brought blitzes from time to time, and got pressure on Jalen Hurts pretty quickly. And it feels like there's no answers for Hurts when he has to escape the pocket. As he escapes, he's trying to find open guys and the receivers aren't able to get open. So I do think that at some point, you know, when you're scrambling, you need your receivers to make a move, get open, do something. And AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, for the most part, were, you know, not really able to do it. Another interesting stat, when we look at this weekend, all wild card quarterbacks, Hurts had the lowest passer rating when under pressure at 39.6. And in this wild card round, there were 6 quarterbacks who had a greater than 100 passer rating versus pressure. So, you know, I guess you can decide who you overall want to blame. I think there's a blame to go along a lot of this offense, play caller, receivers, you know, getting open, beating their coverage. The Packers played great coverage overall. And from time to time, I think Jalen Hurts, you know, does need to do a better job of finding open guys, because I don't think it's necessarily that, you know, they were shut down all game long. And so there's no doubt that Philadelphia needs to find answers if they want to be able to compete for a Super Bowl, because when you get down to a team like the Lions, 7 points, 14 points, I just don't think I trust this Eagles offense. When you're ahead, when your defense is playing great football, and you're able to rely on the best running back in football in Saquon Barkley, things go smoothly, and that's why I think the Eagles still won this game pretty handedly, 22-10. Saquon could have broken off a run there at the end to really, you know, take them over the top. And so, as I said, you can play from ahead really well. 25 carries, 119 yards, 4.8 yards a carry. But if this same passing attack shows up against the Lions, if they were to play them at some point, I do not think this is an Eagles team that is going to win. And if they were to somehow, you know, make it to Super Bowl, which I think is possible because of how good the defense is, offensively, not so sure. But how is this offense going to compete with the Chiefs, with the Bills, with the Ravens? I just think that this passing attack is in a different class than those passing attacks. And so I think that there are a lot of reasons to be concerned if this Eagles team really wants to make a deep playoff run. That's all I have for today. If you want more NFL content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.